Good evening to you, televiewers. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television. Tonight, Muslims across Cameroon have been reminded of their role as agents of peace, unity and security. This as they gather to celebrate the Feast of the Ram. We tell you just how it happened in some regions across the country. In this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinox Television, UMS of Loom is no longer news. It's a winner of this year's football season in Cameroon. We take you to the Mongo division of Cameroon to see how the population in that municipality have continued to rejoice over the club's success at the 2015-2016 football season. These are headlines. We shall be right back. Stay with us. Once again, good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the news. It is fast becoming an annual call. The values of peace, security and love are what heads of Muslim religion here in the economic capital Douala and across the national territory stand for. The message was re-echoed at the prayer ground in Kangbeto here in the Douala 2 municipality. Jacques Ekwekinge was at the ceremonial ground and now tells us more.
Kangbeto in the Douala 2 municipality was the arena for prayers marking the celebration of the Feast of Sacrifice. An important security disposition was put in place at the entrance to the prayer ground, with persons obliged to undergo systematic check by elements of the forces of law and order. Security forces were also deployed around the prayer ground to assure a hitch-free ceremony. The prayers of the day were led by Imam Sheikh Ibrahim Mubarak Mbombo, who used the occasion to preach about peace and love.
When we kill a ram, we saw that it's a vegetal animals who are not drinking blood and not killing another. These things teach us solidarity and mean us to live in unity and in peace.
According by Imam Sheikh Ibrahim Mubarak, the present war and insecurity presently going on around the world is due to misunderstanding amongst persons, and that Cameroonians should avoid falling into the temptation of disunity like in the neighboring Gabon as the country prepares for future elections.
What we live now from Gabon and what we are watching also in Nigeria, in Central Africa and other countries between us make us think that our next picture, very short picture, we are going to the election also. We must be a true and real people who are fighting against thy heart to not be and to not make any mistake like another.
The prayer session was followed by the symbolic slaughtering of a ram done by the Imam, which according by Muslim faithfuls is just a remembrance of Abraham's sacrifice to God.
The significance of the sacrifice of today is to respect the recommendation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which has been recommended to Ibrahim alayhi salam.
The Feast of Tabaski, they say, is a moment of sharing reasons why the slaughtered rams will be shared by family members, friends, and to the underprivileged.
It's a feast of the sharing, it's a feast of the communion, it's a feast of gathering all the mankind and be one.
Meantime, the Feast of Tabaski continues in the different homes with feasting and merrymaking.
As some Muslims celebrate in the nation's political capital in Yaoundé, families are in despair. We are talking about families in the Briketeri neighborhood. They have lost all hope to reunite with their daughters who were kidnapped by some yet to be identified individuals some 2 years ago. Roland Akong, who takes us to the Briketeri neighborhood, begins by telling us how a mother has been coping in the midst of the crisis. His report.
It is the second feast of the sacrifice Zenabu is celebrating without her daughter. She is one of the missing babies of the Briketeri neighborhood. 2 years gone since she went missing. Tracing her is nowhere in sight.
Ça fait déjà 2 ans quelques mois qu'on a volé ma fille. Si elle est en vie, Dieu nous fait pour qu'on voit, pour qu'on la retrouve. Si elle n'est pas en vie, on dit seulement
At the Gambo Abdul Karim family, still in the Brikiteri neighborhood, slaughtered rams are shared to friends and relatives. Food, we were told, will be available for everyone visiting.
C'est chaque année que nous faisons comme ça, de 10 à 15 pour donner aux orphelins, ceux qui n'en ont pas, aux pauvres. D'autres, mais on les donne les moutons vivants.
The joyous and festive feast of the sacrifice is also visible on dresses. Muslims say they wear their best attires, plus traditional make-up for women to look prettier.
Oui, on se décore comme ça pour la fête, pour être belle. Et on est très satisfait. Le sifa.
The feast of the sacrifice is a festive and joyous occasion. Special foods and delicacies are prepared for the day and are distributed to neighbors and friends.
That is how the Feast of Tabaski was celebrated in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Now, let's see how it was celebrated in the world. Muslims taking part in the Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia remembered their fellow Muslims trapped in war and misery in Yemen, Syria, as well as Iraq. Security, it should be noted, was equally beefed up as 2 million people were taking part in the annual event. Let's have the details with Oro News.
Some 2 million Muslims have converged on Mount Arafat for the second and most important day of the annual Hajj pilgrimage. Saudi authorities are using drones to keep an eye on the crowds at the holy site after hundreds, if not thousands, were crushed to death last year. Able-bodied Muslims the world over must make the pilgrimage at least once in their lifetime, if it's financially possible. Many, such as this pilgrim, will use the occasion to pray for those in conflict-torn countries, such as Syria, Yemen and Iraq. Mount Arafat, or the Mountain of Mercy near Mecca, is the site where Muslims believe the Prophet Muhammad gave his final sermon to followers. From there, believers head to the Jamarat area to complete the next stage of the pilgrimage. The Saudi government has spent billions of dollars expanding the site after 2 stampedes in previous years killed hundreds of people.
And we probably shall be taking a look at the message, the principal message, of course, as far as the Feast of the Tabaski is concerned. That's going to be in the second part of this newscast. We take you now to Bikok, that is one of the most enclaved localities in the Mefu Akono division of the center region of Cameroon, where local inhabitants are complaining of the lack of basic and necessities like water and electricity, despite the locality's closeness to the nation's political capital. Babla Jonathan has the details.
A statue of Angel Michael in battle with Lucifer at the entrance into Bikok, some 30 kilometers from Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé. Local sources say it was planted there to save the village from witchcraft that has allegedly kept it in chronic underdevelopment for several years. Despite its closeness to the capital city, Bikok is still one of the most enclaved villages in the Mefu and Akono division in the central region. This inhabitant lament over the enclaved nature of his village, adding that there is no water, no electricity, though some few electric poles and cables can be seen crisscrossing the locality. Civil servants transferred to the locality are said to be regularly absent. In the midst of all these, young people celebrate the end of holidays, notably with a football encounter marked by a thrilling show of emotion, passion and determination to win by coaches, but also a local language commentator.
From the Bikok locality in the central region of Cameroon, we now talk sports football. The last playing day of the League One Championship that took place in stadiums across the country. As far as the matches are concerned, we had UMS of Loom that had a 0-0 tie with Astro Football Club of Douala. Union 1, Lyon Blessé 0. Aigle of Menoir defeated Cosmos 2-1. U Stars of Douala lost to Unisport 0-1. Apaches of Foucault and Urge of Botafogo 2-1. Babutus lost to Dragon 0-1. Canon 1, Young Sports Academy 3, and Cotton Sports of Gawa Trash Racing, that was by 5-0. And we now talk about the champions of this year's football season in Cameroon. Those are the UMS of Loom. The population of Loom municipality have continued to rejoice over the club's victory at the 2015-2016 League One Championship, that is the football season. Union, or the Mouvement Sportif of Loom, was officially handed their trophy. That was during a ceremony that took place yesterday. In the following report, Smart Njikan Grebro now takes us to the atmosphere that reigned in the Mongo Division. His report.
It was the whole town of Loom that turned out this Sunday to watch the Union de Mouvement Sportif play their last game of the season. Several dance groups were also present to give the event a special touch. Traditional rulers of the town were not left out as they came to watch the club that has made the small locality to be popular. Security was also at its top to ensure a perfect end of the season. For this player of Astre, he is very pleased with the points gathered this football season because it was more than what they got last season. In 34 matches played this year, UMS was undefeated in 24 matches and boasts of the best defense, with 5 of its players nominated in the Professional Football League Awards. Joel Etoge, voted as the best player of UMS this season, says he is very satisfied, particularly because the season wasn't a difficult one for his club. For the 2015-2016 season, UMS with 70 points will represent Cameroon at the CAF Champions League. The president of the Professional Football League, ex-Army General Pierre Semenge, was also happy that they had a successful season. As UMS continues to savour its trophy, the problem of sport infrastructures resurfaces, particularly looking at the field where the champions of the League One tournament have been holding their matches. Union de Mouvement Sportif of Loom starts the defense of their League One title on December 10th as the 2016-2017 season goes on the way.
We now take you to news out of the country to have an update on what is happening in Gabon. The world is still reacting following the chaos that hit the country after the results of the elections were proclaimed. Pope Francis of the Catholic Church has called on all bishops in Gabon to pray for peace and unity in the country. Meantime, the Constitutional Court in Gabon would begin verifying the allegations that the elections were rigged in favor of the elected president Ali Bongo Ndimba. For Hansin Chanji has the details.
Where religious authorities are praying for peace in Gabon, which has been plunged into post-election crisis, as Muslim faithfuls in Cameroon use the Tabaski festivities to call for peace to reign in one of Africa's richest countries. Pope Francis of the Catholic Church, while delivering a sermon at St. Peter's Square in Rome, entrusted the lives of victims and families in the hands of God, calling on the bishops of Gabon to invite the two camps to reject all violence and aim for common good. Pope Francis encouraged Catholics to be builders of peace within the law in dialogue and fraternity. Religious leaders are the latest personalities advocating for peace after other international bodies such as France, the European Union and La Francophonie had called on Ali Bongo Ndimba to submit to the wish of the opposition by recounting the vote in Uruguay. The Constitutional Court in Gabon, which has powers to receive electoral litigation, will open the file this Tuesday, where both parties are expected to bring proofs. Jean Ping to prove that elections in Uruguay were manipulated in favor of Ali Bongo, and the president to prove the contrary. The Secretary General of La Francophonie, Michael Zhang, in an outing says the handling of the case by the Constitutional Court marks an important and crucial stage in solving the post-election violence. According to Michael Zhang, the court's credibility will be judged on its impartial, equitable and transparent judgment. Meantime, opposition leader Zhang Ping had told the court that if the votes of Uruguay are not recounted, then Gabonese will take their destinies into their hands. Affair Swift.
And the ability of Hillary Clinton to stand as President of the United States of America has equally been put to question after she cancelled a 2-day campaign trip to California after she was diagnosed of pneumonia. The U.S. Democratic presidential candidate re-emerged saying that she is practically okay. Let's have the details with Oro News.
Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said on Monday the state was determined to recover all areas from terrorist groups. Assad made the remarks during a tour of the Damascus suburb of Daraya, which was evacuated by rebels and returned to state control last month. He says, by visiting this area, we also deliver the message that the Syrian state is determined to recover every single area from those terrorists. We are determined to restore peace and security. We are committed to the reconstruction of infrastructure to rebuild all that has been destroyed at a material and a human level. As the Muslim festival of Eid got underway, Assad prayed at this Daraya mosque hours before a US-Russian ceasefire deal was due to take effect. Reuters news agency reported fighting between government troops and rebels on the eve of the truce. The ceasefire will not apply to the so-called Islamic State or Jabhat Fatah al-Sham, the group previously known as the Nusra Front.
As we could see, that was rather the president of Syria that expressed his determination to recover all the areas captured by terrorists in the country. Bashar al-Assad said that all the destroyed areas in the country would be rebuilt and that peace would gradually return. Now, let's take you back to the United States of America, where Hillary Clinton has so far cancelled a campaign trip to California that was supposed to take place for 2 days after she was being diagnosed of pneumonia. The U.S. Democratic presidential candidate re-emerged later saying that she was okay. Let's have the details once again with Oro News.
U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton has cancelled a 2-day campaign trip to California after being diagnosed with pneumonia. Her near collapse at a 9/11 memorial ceremony in New York yesterday has raised an element of uncertainty about her health less than 2 months before the election. Clinton's campaign says the former Secretary of State left the annual remembrance event after feeling overheated and dehydrated. Later, she re-emerged to say she was feeling great, but this video shows her slumping before being helped into a waiting Secret Service van as she leaves the ceremony. This comes less than 2 weeks before the first of 3 televised debates and is likely to see renewed calls for both presidential candidates to reveal more about their health. Donald Trump has previously suggested Clinton lacks the stamina to serve as president.
And that does it for this first segment of the news. Up next is Talking Points. Stay with us. Tonight, we talk about the significance of the Feast of Tabaski that was celebrated here in Cameroon as across the continent and worldwide. We have as guest Sheikh Umar Mwafo, that is the regional president of the Islamic Youth in Cameroon. Good evening to you. We thank you so much for your time.
Okay, good evening, madam.
Good evening to you as we celebrate, or Muslim faithful celebrate the Feast of Tabaski today. What is your general impression how it unfolded across the national territory?
Thank you so much, madam, and all the staff of Equinox Radio Television to have given me this opportunity to talk about the Ramadan today. Okay, my impression, I have a very good impression because everything passed in peace all over the territory. I didn't hear any misfunctionment anywhere in the country.
Okay, now it is fast becoming, as I said in the course of this newscast, an annual call, the call for peace, unity and security whenever Muslims gather to celebrate such feast. It is equally a similar situation for the feast of the Ramadan. But today we are talking about the feast of Tabaski. Tell us about the need or the significance of this message that is preached nationwide by imams.
Okay, thank you so much. The significance of this feast is very simple. It's a sign of a total submission to Allah the Almighty. And then the feast has its origin since Abraham alayhi salam having the dream that the Almighty has him to offer his holy son as a sacrifice to him that will slaughter him. So he told the case to his son Ismail, who was the holy son at that time, and then he told him that he will be patient. So first lesson is a lesson of steadfastness, so being patient. And then when the two were totally submitted, when they were ready to slaughter the son, the Almighty, they call Abraham and tell him that he has fulfilled the dream, and then the son was ransomed by a ram. So he was ransomed by a ram. The second lesson here is that the Almighty did not permit us to slaughter a human being, to kill a human being. So, and then we understand also that all those who are slaughtering people all over the world, who are killing in the name of Allah, are in the wrong way. So people like Boko Haram who are killing people, it is not the case, because during this feast, the Almighty has us to share the meat into three parts. The first part for the family, the second part to disperse to people, and another part to prepare and receive all those who are coming. And everybody, no matter your religion, have the right to celebrate, to share, to share this feast with the Muslim. It means that it's a feast of a sharing, it's a feast of the communion between the human being, it's a feast of being together and team together. So anyone, no matter your religion, no matter either you are a Muslim or not, either you are Christian or not, either you are animist or not, you have the right, if you are close to a Muslim, to share this feast together with them.
Yes, you've earlier talked about the aspect of slaughtering of animals, that the killing of human beings, that is unacceptable as far as the Muslim religion is concerned.
Yeah.
We see how imams are preaching the message of peace, as I earlier indicated, unity.
Yeah.
What could possibly be the reason? Is it like the peace in the world, the peace in Cameroon is being threatened in any way? Why this message every year, this message of peace, unity and security? Why is it a necessity for Muslims to understand that there should be peace, there should be unity and there should be love? Is it that the peace and security that some of our countries are enjoying is being threatened?
Not only that, you know, Islam is a religion of peace. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last messenger of Allah the Almighty, that is saying to mankind with all, and with the last testament, the last book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then especially this time, we emphasize the preaching on the peace, because Cameroon is attacked by the so-called Boko Haram. Nigeria is attacked. Chad is attacked. South Africa is attacked. And today there is a problem in Gabon. So we are surrounded by the country who have problem of a peace. And not only in Africa, also in the Middle East, and all over the world, there is a problem, there is a matter of peace. So we, as a Christian Muslim, we must put more endeavor to preach to everybody to keep peace, because the peace is very, very important. You can see for yourself, any place where there is no peace, people cannot live very well. So as I was saying before, Islam is a religion of peace, and the meaning of Islam is a peace, total submission to Allah and a peace. And then this time we need to increase the creation of peace in order for we to stay in a peaceful country.
What is the place of the Feast of Tabaski as far as the Muslim religion is concerned? The place of this feast. We have many other feasts we have other feasts as far as the Muslim religion is concerned, like the Feast of the Ramadan. What's the place of the Feast of the Tabaski?
The place, the Feast of Tabaski in the Muslim community is an important feast, because in the Muslim community there is 3 feasts. First, the feast of Friday, the weekly feast. Secondly, the feast of Eid al-Fitr after the moon of Ramadan, and now the feast of the feast of sacrifice, which is a great feast in the Muslim community. So when we celebrate this, we celebrate it according to what happened to Abraham. So Allah proved him by asking him to offer, to sacrifice to him the holy son he had at that time, and he was totally submitted, and he did the will of Allah. So we are trying to do the will of Allah through this feast.
And that is that for this edition of the news. We thank you so much, Sheikh Umaru Mafo, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again, and happy Feast of the Tabaski.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much
for joining us. That was the regional president of the Islamic Youth in Cameroon there joining us tonight on Talking Point. Televiewers, we thank you so much for joining us as well. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.